Hey, everybody, Pit Nation, Storm Nation, Bowl U, everybody that's joined in. Wow, do we have another treat? We're going back to back. 2 weeks ago, we did Tom Clark. Many of you had chimed in as to how neat you thought that was. Some of the stories from back in the day, Buffalo Bowling. Last week we had Norm Duke. Um, that was a treat for me because all you had to do was wind up Norm and let him go. And many of you have messaged us and asked us if we could get this next guy on. So listen, I won't delay. A good friend of mine, the guy that helped me in my early stages out on tour, helped me shorten that learning curve. Many of you know him if you're around here growing up in the Western New York area. My good friend Tom Baker, the Bakes. Here he is.
Hey, Brad. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Well, it stinks that you're not up here anymore. You know, driving around in the winter, sliding around on the roads.
Yeah, I don't miss that part. You can have that. And I need to go farther south where it's warmer. I'm still a little chilly here. I think my blood thinned out.
It probably did. How long have you been down there, North Carolina now?
I've been down here 15 years, Brad.
I can't even believe it. Like, where did the time go?
Tell me about
it. You know what I mean? I can't believe it.
I remember us bowling on tour. It seemed like it was like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been like many years ago.
Well, when I first went on tour, I remember that, I had given you a call to see if you had anybody to room with, and you welcomed me with open arms. And wow, the stories we could tell. Too many times at the track.
Way too many times at the track. We'd get lost in the shuffle trying to find the track so we can go bet in between spots. I mean, what are we doing? What were we doing back then? That's crazy.
The thing is that I remember some of the times, all of the tracks here in the United States, they'd all be done, and we would go somewhere else to where we could go start betting the Australia tracks.
I know they'd be done. They'd be done like at 11 o'clock at night, and over in Australia, it's like, oh, they're just starting racing. Okay, let's go bet over there, Australia racing. Didn't know anything about it, but we had to bet it, didn't we?
I teach a bowling camp down in Memphis, Tennessee. And as I'm driving there each year, I have to pass Southland racetrack. And I remember that we bet a trifecta at the Australia, one of the Australia races while we were there at Southland. And we hit the trifecta, and we had to wait for like an hour and a half for the results to come in. Do you remember that? Do you happen to remember that?
Yeah, I'm like, we couldn't believe the results haven't come in yet. But if you do watch, it takes a long time for the results coming in. But I felt good because we had a winner, so I'll wait as long as we had to.
Well, I remember when we walked out to the parking lot, they got this big sprawling parking lot. We didn't have to worry about finding where or remembering where we parked because we were the only car left in the parking lot. Oh, there it is right there. I see it. I remember that because it was so late at night. Yeah. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. We had to wait. Something else.
We closed up many tracks, believe me.
Well, it's actually a neat thing. I have to talk about this. All right. So I hope you're okay with it. I'm going to be putting you on the spot, but we're going to relive in my opinion, one of the best memories that ever happened on the PBA tour. Are you ready? We got this queued up for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, listen in, everybody.
Seven-pin lead.
Bakes needs a mark to win. Throws an excellent shot. My heart stopped.
Oh my. Almost a pocket 710, and that would have been the end of Tom Baker today. Wow. Can you believe what he avoided by a fraction? Mika's wife on the left, Brad Angelo, Tom Baker's roommate, Michelle Angelo. Can't believe the pressure. Needs to convert the spare. Gotta have a 7. Does it? Four pins, that's all he needs now. And he'll be a world champion. I've been on tour for 23 years. This is probably the most amazing story I've ever witnessed and ever seen.
Yes! Oh my God! Are you kidding me? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh, congratulations, man! 5 years.
Tom Baker is not only exempt, not only does he have a job for next year, folks, he is a world champion. His first major comes today at Ypsilanti. Incredible.
Hey, cool, David. Got to get some chin-ups going.
Bakes. Bakes, I got tears in my eyes.
I do too. Every
I
time
can't believe it, my friend.
every time I watch it, I got tears in my eyes. It's, wow, what a memory. That's
What a memory. Go ahead, talk about it. Talk.
It changed my life, obviously, but you bowl as many years as I have, and you never think that you're going to do something like that. And I did it, and I did it, calmly. And making the 7-pin was not easy in that situation. But my heart did drop for a second when I left. That 710 was up there for a minute. I did feel my heart go down. It might be in my belly at that time, but I remember getting up there for the 7-pin, and the guy in the crowd said, "Don't choke." And then there was another guy who says, "No pressure." And when I pointed my finger at the 7-pin, I was pointing at those guys in the crowd that said, "Don't choke." That was my gesture for them. But anyway, it was just it was the point of the spur of the moment. I understand, and it was just a great thing. And having you come up there and hug, I mean, as we were roommates, and I bowl you the first game, and you bowl a great game, and I beat you, and I'm like, man, now I'm going to meet Mika, and bowled a good game. We both bowled good games. I was fortunate for me, I came on top.
You wouldn't be able to hear this anywhere else, because I was in the car with you the weeks leading up to that. And, all of the discussions about, okay, I'm not going to have enough points to make the exempt tour. I don't know what I'm going to do next year. This is it for me. Trying to figure out what you were going to do, what your life was going to be like. Are you going to stay here in Buffalo? What is going to happen? And I remember the week before that, you made me drop you off in Toledo, Ohio. You stayed for that whole 3 or 4 days right across the street there from Southwick Lanes. And you stayed down there. You said, you know what, I just want to practice. You walked back and forth from the hotel over there. And I'll just never forget it. I dropped you off there, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's this guy going to do? What's he going to do? You didn't even want to come back here to Buffalo to be able to answer all the questions about, what are you going to do, Bakes? What's going to happen, Bakes? And then I picked you up in Toledo. We went over there to Taylor Lanes and started out qualifying, and you were grinding away, and you made the cut, made match play. And then I don't remember which match it was, but man, it came right down to the 9th and 10th, and you got up there and you struck every time you needed to be able to make the TV show. And then there it was. At that time, I ended up finishing, and I led the points that year. So I didn't win a title. I had made 5 TV shows, and then it came down to where, okay, that was the final event of the year, and there it was. I had to bowl you. And all I'm thinking is that, geez, I really want this for Bakes, but I want to win too. And man, I started out, I had the front 5 against you, and it was nothing but heart, man, nothing but heart. You ended up stepping up the whole time. I shot 240 and I lost. And then you got up there. Mika ended up beating Wes Malott. And then you had to get up there and be able to throw that shot there in the 10 to be able to make it. You threw a great shot. I thought the 7-10 was going to stand. The 10-pin fell. My heart dropped. But I was reminded of what I was feeling like right then and there watching. I don't think I missed a beat. I know Michelle was sitting right next to me, and she was going, oh, my gosh. She couldn't even contain herself. Just thinking, come on, Bakes, finish this off, man. Finish this off the whole way. And I'll be damned, you did, man. You did. I'll never, ever forget those weeks leading up to that. Why don't you talk a little bit about what was going through your mind leading up to even getting going into the World Championship? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, well, I was obviously it was my last week. If I knew where I needed to finish to be exempt for the following year, I needed to be in the top 16 to be exempt. And as the week went on, as the finals went on, it ended up being that I bowled Pete Weber in 2 matches prior, and I had to win 2 games against Pete to be exempt for the following year. And I think I was down 0-2 to Pete, and I came back to tie him up 2-2. And at that point, I knew that I was exempt for the following year, and it felt like what a relief had just gone off me. I said, I get to bowl next year again. Thank you. And then I bowled the last game against Pete. Then went down to the last frame. I needed a double to win. And I flushed both of those shots, and what a great feeling. But at that point, I was loose. I says, I'm exempt for next year, so I can do whatever I want to do. But it definitely helped me. And then I had to bowl Brian Smith at the next match, and that was a piece of cake. Nothing against Brian, but I won 3-0. It was the easiest match I had the whole tournament. And then I was on the show, and then of course I had to bowl you, and I'm like, I got to bowl Brad, my roommate, and God, I'm thinking all these things going through my mind, and I said, no matter, just you're exempt next year. Take one shot at a time, make a good shot. Don't worry about anything else. And getting back to the 10th frame and the 7-pin, a lot of people were you nervous about the 7-pin and all that? And I'm saying, well, sure, I was nervous, but I didn't let my emotions get to me of what it meant. I didn't think how much money it was. I said to myself, it's a 7-pin, Bakes. Go through your routine of how you're going to make your 7-pin. So I get up there. I know where I'm going to stand. I know what I'm going to look at. I know there was a lot of oil in the middle lane, so I got to go fairly straight at it, and that's what I did. I never thought of what it meant or what it was going to mean. I just said, well, I'm going up and going through my motions to shoot a 7-pin, and that's the good thing I made it. Made it easy too. It was no problem.
The neat thing also was I had forgot about this part of it because I played the clip back and I asked Tim to load it up for us. I forgot that there was Rick Benoit too, right in that clip, helping us every step of the way that whole week, getting us there. And I don't even think you were on Brunswick staff at that point. You ended up signing with Brunswick because of that win.
Right, I did. I was on nobody's staff at the time. I was using the Brunswick balls and I was using the track balls that whole week. And I remember coming to the show which balls I was going to use. And a lot of the tour reps would ask me, and which one you going to use, Baker? We'll give you X amount of dollars if you use this one. If you use this one, I says, I'm going to use what I think I could win with. It don't matter about the money. I'm going to use what I think I could win with. And obviously, I made the right choice. The Brunswick Inferno ball was the one I had the best look with. So I bowled 270 against you and 230 in the champion. So obviously, I made the right choice there. So that was good. And then Rick Benoit was helping me the whole week, and he was great. I ended up signing with Brunswick after that year, and Rick was my tour rep for a number of years there, and he did a great job. And those were my best years in bowling were 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007, because I was bowling both tours, and then I went on the senior tour and become player of the year 4 years in a row on the senior tour. So Who would have thunk at age 49 your life's just started all over again?
Bakes, I just turned 50.
So look what you got to look forward to.
So I need a roommate on the senior tour. What are we doing?
I'm already locked up. They already, those guys want to stay with me all the time.
Oh, geez. But I mean, I can't believe it. How both of our careers have unfolded, not just since then, but unfolding all the way to where I've been fortunate enough to win even 2 titles. And now I'm going to be going on the senior tour. I hope I can have a chance to win again. You always used to tell me, you never know when it's going to be your last one. So you better take advantage of it, right? I mean, you never know.
Yeah, you're going to be the one that, you're one of the young guys coming out. You're going to be tough to beat. You're going to do very well on the senior tour. Your knowledge of the game is phenomenal. You kept up with it. And you know your stuff. So you're going to do well. And I hope we can get in that championship match again. That'd be great.
Well, if we do, I'm not letting down. I can tell you that. I'm going for broke. So
Okay.
Just know.
That'd be nice for me to get in that, my age now, to get in that step ladder again. Be nice. So, but I think I can do it. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be bowling. But we'll see what happens.
So you had some foot problems here a little while ago. How's that coming?
Yeah, I had 2 years ago. I had that plantar fasciitis in the foot, and my footwork was terrible. Couldn't put the foot down. The second step got real short, and it still is. The game is kind of. I watched the old film. I never had a short second step until 2 years ago, and it's because I had a bad foot. I got a foot problem. Then I had back surgery, so then I'm falling apart. The older I get, I'm falling apart. But those are just freaky things. I don't know. Getting back to the foot, it feels fine. When I bowl a lot, it bothers me. When I bowl too much, I feel it. But if I just start off, I bowl like an 8-game block, I'm fine. But if I bowl like 24 games and like an hour a day, I'm in trouble. So the more I bowl, the worse it gets. So just gotta have more Advil, the bowler's candy.
Bowler's candy. Let's rewind the clock all the way back 50 plus years. Talk about when you first started bowling and where it was, where you lived back here in Buffalo, because there's a lot of people that watch this from right here in Buffalo. Give them a little bit of a history lesson.
Well, I grew up at Rockmar Lanes. I lived right across the street from Rockmar Lanes on Grant and Amherst. And I had 2 older brothers that were also bowlers, and my father was a bowler. And my brothers actually worked at the bowl, and they were bowlers, and they bowled in the Pepsi League at the time. Was the big league, the Junior Pepsi League back in the day. And when they were in that league, I wanted to bowl too, and I lived right across the street. I started bowling. The weather was snowing all the time, so I'm going to go across the street and bowl and practice. And I practiced. I followed their footsteps. My brother Eddie helped me with my game a little bit, and he was probably the most natural bowler of our family. It was my brother Eddie, and he bowled. He went to St. Francis High School, and he ended up going to college. And he did the right thing, and he was a banker his whole life and just retired a few years ago. And my brother Hank worked at Dunlop Tires, which is not there anymore. I think it might be Bridgestone now. I'm not there. He was there for 35 years, and I just wanted to bowl. That's all I ever wanted to do when I was a kid. But I remember back then, I was 13 years old, and I was bowling pretty good. And we would bowl all night in jackpots. There'd be like maybe 20 of us bowling. We bowled for $5 or $10. Back then, it was a lot of money. And we would start bowling 11 o'clock at night when the leagues were over, and we could still be there the next morning, still bowling jackpots. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I'd be up all night bowling jackpots. Never did it, So I had I bowled the league. Here's why I didn't go to the Pepsi League. I started men's league when I was 13 years old. Never went to college or anything. I had some guys, they wanted me to bowl on their team. His name was Vince Vizzi. and I was the anchor man. They said they're going to pay for all my bowling. You don't have to worry about a thing. So I didn't think about I was going to wait and go to college or anything like that. I said, I just want to bowl. So I bowled in the league first year, 186 average when I was 13 years old. And every year after that, I probably got about 5 pins and average better than that every year under that. And when I was 18, I was pretty good. And I used to have the 3-dotted ball, and I used to rev the ball, and the ball was be spinning around like this. And I can remember the 3 dots were spun, and then I broke my wrist. I fell off a porch, and all those revs went away. I broke my wrist. My wrist was never the same, and I came back and I spun the ball. The alignment from my wrist to my hand it's crooked, and it made me spin the ball, and it didn't. The ball never laid in my hand the way it did back before I broke it. And make a long story short, I had to work my way around my physical wrist that wasn't the same anymore, and I became a little bit slower, and I spun it more. But it made me stronger mentally because I knew I couldn't do what I used to be able to do. But it's still been a great career no matter the way you look at it. So, but that's what I remember growing up. And as I got to when I was about 18, I would bowl jackpots. We moved over to Rockmar Lanes. We actually grew up at Volker's Lanes. I'm sorry. And moved over to Rockmar, and there was a lot of jackpots going on there. That was the place to be. Rockmar Lanes was the place to be. There was all kinds of characters coming there. They come in every day. We'd be bowling in the afternoon, and after bowling, we'd have the pool game going on. We'd have the money ball, we called it back then. Then the restaurant people would have. They had 2 older ladies that were great chefs, and they would make this food. We would have dinner there. Then the card game would start after that. We played cards all night. So we had the bowling in the morning, pool around dinner time, then the cards at night. I'm like, and then the bar was open. Then we go to the bar after.
You talk about Moneyball. For those of you that don't know, I mean, if you're from around here in Buffalo Bowling, you most likely know what Moneyball is. At least if you were around up until probably 20, 25 years ago. But for those of you that don't know, Moneyball is you use 3 balls, and you put the 3 balls right on the dot. You have the cue ball, and whoever gets all 3 balls in the least amount of shots wins the money. 2 tie, all tie. So you'd start out rooting against the guy, but then as soon as the first guy that got them all in, sometimes you'd get them in 2 shots, most likely 3-1. As soon as somebody got it in 3 shots, all of a sudden, the next guy, he was everybody's best friend. So everybody started rooting for him to hopefully he can get it in 3 to carry over the money. And the cool thing about it is that in order to get in the next time, if there was 2 tie, everybody tied, but you had to re-up again. It wasn't like you just kept bowling until somebody won that money. You had to keep putting in the money. So that pot could grow. Before you know it, man, that could get up there to a couple $100 pretty easy. And we did that. I remember we would do that on Wednesday nights after the sweeper at Thruway Lanes, right inside the bar there. We'd be playing Moneyball until 1 o'clock in the morning until they kicked us out.
Yeah, that was the big game. The Moneyball was where you could make some money. It was quite interesting. If the pot kept going, it was up there. It was a lot of fun.
It sure was. It sure was. Talk a little bit about some of the names from back in the day here in Buffalo.
Back in the names, the one guy who said Vince Vizzy, and every time I needed a strike or something in the 10th frame for our team to win, he would go, lock it up, Bakes, lock it up. And then he would say, okay, you got it. Don't drag the wagon. He would say something like that. I'm like, what? I didn't understand what he meant. But anyway, some of the characters were we called the one guy Andy was the creep. He would come in, the creep's here, and then another one. There was another one, Al Stranies, who probably worked at your bowl. We used to call him Dwa, D-W-A, Dick with Arms. That was his nickname. Here comes, here comes Dwa.
Oh, you know what? You don't even have to go any farther. We can just end with that because that pretty much says it all right there, Bakes.
Remember Augie Bundolino and Barney Fanaps? What about those guys?
You know, I got to, I mean, some of those names, I know some of the names, but you know, you got the real old time names. And then you got the group that you grew up with, the John Masiello, who's still to this day one of my best friends. And then the group that was around my age, just kind of not a full generation behind you, but you know, a few years behind you. Dave Gwindon, Brad Kozuski, Brian Eaton was a name from back in the day. Obviously, Mike Newman. You know, you watched a lot of those guys grow up and evolve, and that era of bowling. Well, you were still out on tour, so you couldn't bowl any of the megabucks. But when the megabucks were going, there was some really powerhouse guys from the Buffalo area here. Mike Falero, all that stuff. So talk a little bit about that group.
Oh, that was you know, we bowled the World Team Challenges with that group. I was on the team with you know, Mike Newman was on the team, and Dave Gwindon. Well, his nickname was Chirp. You know, him. He don't stop. He don't shut up for nothing. So he got the nickname Chirp. But you know, Jack Jerk was another one that was on the team. Mike Falero, you know, Brad Kazustabagan was his nickname. We used to call him Kazustabagan. He was a great lanky bowler, smooth as heck. You know, it was just it was a great time with the great guys. It was they were all great bowlers too, and they still are. They still bowl.
Well, you know, the neat thing was we had the Wednesday sweeper at Thruway Lanes, and then during the summer there was all the summer tournaments that we could bowl. And I'm not sure if you were eligible for some of those, but you know, the big tournament, the handicap tournament over at Kenmore Lanes that ran all summer long. There was the tournament at Bailey Bowling. Bailey Bowling, they got the Canadian side and they got the American side, and the lanes were numbered backwards. Go 1 through 12, but it would go from right to left, 1 through 12.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if you were able to bowl any of that stuff. Were you, because you were on tour at the time?
I did bowl the Bailey Bowling a couple times, and the guy would announce, he says, "May these scores be the best beside your name," or something like that. Every time he said he had the same routine. Yep. Every squad. I did bowl it a couple times. I did cash a few times. They were tough, but the summer things I couldn't. You know, I didn't bowl that much in the summertime. I think I was out on tour or something. You know, back then, you know, they used to have 36 tournaments a year, and I think when I came home, I didn't want to bowl nothing. I was burned out. You know, you needed a break.
You know, I remember growing up. Obviously, my dad, he got hurt when I was 8 years old, and so that ended his career, at least on the local scene. And I remember, you know, learning about you. Had never met you before. And then when the Bell's Markets Open was at Thruway Lanes, you know, I would be up there and I'd be trying to get the autographs, and you know, and then hey, there's that guy from Buffalo. He had the real long curly hair, big perm going on way down to here, big mullet with the major curly hair. That was the Bakes, and I'll never forget being able to see you for the first time just as a little kid was really neat for me. And then I don't remember if it was maybe 1981, 1982, something like that. I remember following a tournament that you won in Denver, and you and Pete Weber set the record for one match. You both bowled 300 in the same match in match play. I don't know if you remember that. Was that a doubles tournament or something in Denver?
Yes, it was. No, it was no doubles tournament. It was a singles tournament. It was a 42 game tournament, and that's where I set the average, which held up for 12 years. I averaged 247 for 42 games in the tournament back in 1981 using a urethane ball.
Do you remember what ball it was?
Yeah, all the angle, AMF angle, the black one. Yeah.
I remember that. Now, didn't you win? You won 3 tournaments in a row, right?
I did. What had happened was I had won the Pennzoil Open in Torrance, California, and I won the Showboat doubles with my friend Joe Hutchinson. We beat Earl Anthony and Nelson Burton Jr. for the title. And then I took a week off. I took Tucson off because I had something to do, and I can't remember what I had to do, but I didn't bowl that week. And then I came back to Denver and set the records and won the Denver tournament. And tied me and Pete Weber had 300, the first bowlers to do so. And I finished last, and I needed all 3 strikes to tie, and I flushed all 3, and Pete came up to me and gave me a big hug. It was the greatest thing.
You know, I got to tell you, that's one thing about Pete Weber that I've always said. You know, you get a lot of questions. Hey, what's Pete Weber really like? And I've always said the same thing. He's one of the most respectful guys. Always, if you pushed him to the limit, you know, he was trying to step on your throat. But if you had a chance to beat him and you got up there and you beat him, he always had his hand out. Hey, great bowling, nice bowling with you. You know, keep it up. Good luck the rest of the way. Those are some of my memories of Pete Weber.
I agree totally. You know, me and him, we've had some battles over the years, and no matter what format they had, we were always going to the last game. Me and Pete, we had some head-to-head battles, and he keeps saying, "Well, if it's the best out of 7, well, Bakes, I know we're going to go 7 because this is the way it always goes." And that's the way it was. The 300 started that, and you know, I respected him so much as a bowler. I think he had the same for me, like you said. So,
you know, also another memory that I have as a little kid. I remember going to a Sabres game, and before the Sabres game, I went with my mom and dad to Chef's Restaurant, famous restaurant, as you well know. And I remember I'm looking around, and there's all, you know, different famous people up on the wall there at Chef's, and I'm looking at all the cool people up there, their photos there holding on to the sauce. And then whoop, there it is. There's Tom Baker holding a picture of the sauce. Hey, I'm a Chef's guy. Still to this day, it's still one of the best restaurants around, don't you think?
It is, you know, and I'm missing the Chef's. I'm definitely missing Chef's. I haven't been back to Buffalo in a while, and I definitely need a chef. A chef's trip soon because I'm missing it bad.
Well, I'll tell you what, putting you on the spot here, one of these days, maybe later this summer when all this shutdown and coronavirus crap is over with, maybe we'll have you up here and we'll invite a bunch of the people, all the good friends that come down and have a big, you know, bash here honoring the Bakes. And maybe we can all go to dinner at Chef's, or maybe we'll have dinner here and we'll get a few jars of the Chef's sauce, and we'll just have a good party here at the Lanes. Would you come up for that if we organize something like that? Bring Donna up, take a week off, and come on up.
Yeah, definitely be great. Come on.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to hold you to it. What else can we talk about, guys? Are there any questions that we have here?
I just want to say, I remember the first time I met you. I remember going up to Ellie Brandt Lanes, and I don't know how old you were at the time, but I was there. I was the main guy, and we did an exhibition, and I was helping the young kids bowl, and you were just a young kid. I couldn't tell you how old you were, you know, but I remember you're the guy that always asked 1,000 questions.
Not me.
It's like, who is this kid? Why does he keep asking me these questions?
I don't even remember that, Bakes.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's cool.
I found out you were Nin Angelo's son, and I'm like, oh, that explains that. And I says, yeah, to this day, I never forget that. I met you at Ellie Brandt Lanes, and you were just asking a ton of questions, and hopefully I said the right thing for you back then.
Well, you must have. I mean, you were a big part of my career, Bakes. I owe a lot of the success that I've had to you. especially from those early years, hanging with you out on tour. I had a pretty decent amateur career prior to joining the tour. And then, but now when you step up and you really are bowling against the best, it changes things. You look to your left and look to your right, and you see all the people that helped plant the dreams as a little kid. I got Walter Ray next to me, Norm Duke, which, by the way, Walter Ray is going to be on this show next week.
Oh, great.
But you step up, you got Norm Duke here, Amleto Monticelli. I roomed with Amleto Monticelli for 2 years. Boy, he's got some stories too. So, but all of those guys that planted those dreams, and then here it is, I'm rooming with one of them, and I'm getting to bowl against a bunch of the other ones, and I can't believe it. We got some questions here from. Okay, so one of the questions is, how hard is the PBA 50 tour? What do I have to look forward to going out on the PBA tour, the PBA 50?
How hard is it? You're bowling against the same guys you bowl with all your life. I bowl with Walter Ray, Pete Weber, Norm Duke, Parker Bone, all the great guys. Brian LeClaire's bowled with them for 30 years. So you're bowling against with on the senior tour. So you're bowling the same guys. So you think it was hard with bowling against those guys when you're young? Well, it's going to be the same way bowling the senior tour. The competition's pretty high on the senior tour. If you look at all the guys at the end of the year, they're all Hall of Famers. I don't know how many titles combined they got, 200 titles. A lot of these. I remember the one guy says, "Well, I'm going on the senior tour. It's pretty easy." I says, "Well, come on out, buddy. You'll be home very shortly." Because you're old and you're bowling against old guys. No, these guys bowled all their life. These guys are great bowlers. They're Hall of Fame bowlers. So that's how hard it is. Super hard.
It's funny that you say that, because that's almost identical to what Norm said last week. He said, you want to know the difference between the regular tour and the senior tour is everybody that you'll bowl against on the senior tour, that when it comes right down to it, that final day, every one of them still know how to win. They might not throw it the same way. They might have evolved a little bit, but boy, they get up in the 10th and they can still throw it when they need it, every one of them. So if you think you're going to go out there and you're going to be, certainly you'll be one of the guys to contend with because you're one of the young guns. That's one thing. But if you give those guys a chance going into the 10th frame, just remember, you got a lot of guys there that they can still throw it and get it done when they have to.
Oh yeah, you're talking greatest bowlers of all time. They always throw it good.
How long? Well, let me ask you this: when was your first year on tour?
My first year on tour was 1976.
Okay, so 1976, bowling was still probably ahead of golf as far as popularity, number of people that watched. It was, everywhere you'd go.
It was ahead of golf at that time.
Yeah. So I have another question here. So through all of those years from 1976, you're looking at 45 years now, Bakes, that you've been bowling for a living. How were you able to go through all of that stuff, all those years, and still be one of the main guys to beat after all this time? What do you attribute that to?
Probably a number of things. For me, I've always kept myself in shape. I've always had a workout regimen, and we're going through this stuff here. I'm starting to jog now. I never used to jog before, just to keep something going on. But also, keeping up with the game would be another thing. The game has changed from when I'm 1976 to now. It's so much different with the bowling balls and the physical nature of getting on the approach and getting to the foul line has changed quite a bit. Back then it was late timing was good. Now it's guys are getting the ball back earlier. Just all that stuff, the transition to work what fits into your game, and repetition would be the other thing. Once you got it, you repeat it. You got to repeat it. You know, you can't throw like 3 good ones and then 3 bad ones. You ain't going nowhere. You got to repeat it.
Norm was talking a little bit last week about the format out on the senior tour. Talk a little bit about that, the difference mentally that I'm going to have to endure out on the senior tour from your perspective.
Yeah, it's going to be different for you. It's what happens is in the years past, what they've done is after qualifying and where you qualify, you could get some buys. You can get 2 buys or 1 buy, depends on where you qualify. But the thing what makes it so tough is they drop all the pins. And on the tour, they don't drop the pins, I don't think, that much anymore. And so you're coming in the next day, and let's say you got 2 buys, you're coming in the last round, and the lanes have been oiled like 3 times already. So whatever line you think you were playing the day before, you could throw that out the window, because you're gonna come in and you're gonna come into a new building, and you got 6 games to do it. If you don't do it in those, if you make a wrong decision with the ball or play the lanes wrong or throw a bad game, you're going to be in trouble to make the step ladder. So every game counts. You get the bonus pins. It's a short sprint to make it to the top 5. And if you make it the first round, you got to bowl 16 games that day, and that's tough on anybody. Not too many guys can do that. And you're bowling. You get there at 8:30 in the morning. You'll be there until 7:30 at night. Bowling 16 games, and at our age, it's a little tough on your body. So, and that would be another point. But I think the mental part is handling you know you're better than most of these guys, but then you get beat by them. That would be the other part too.
Well, how about Peter? Is this Peter Griffin that asked this question? All right, Peter Griffin, aka Charlie Tapp. The Tapper is on watching us.
That's his nickname, Tapioca.
Tapioca, that's right. So Charlie Tapp asks this. Ask Bakes if he can tell the story about the night before the TV show when we were in Torrance.
Do I have to tell that story?
I don't know if you could really outdo some of the stories you've already told, so you might as well let her rip.
Well, I'll tell it, but I'll do a mild version of it. I made the TV show in Torrance, California, and during that week, all the hotels were sold out. We couldn't find any hotels but this one place, and it had 1 room and 2 double beds, and it was called the Jumping Jack Hotel. And so what we had 3 of us. They had no cots. So what we did is we put the 2 beds together, the 2 double beds together.
Who got the crack?
Well, that was the thing. We know that the guy in the middle would probably get the best sleep because the 2 guys in the end go on to get close to him, right? So it became my turn. We would take turns of who would sleep in the middle. Every night we would alternate. So the one night it's my turn to sleep in the middle. It's during the middle of the night, and I'm feeling like hands are grabbing my legs and my back, and I'm like, what? I turn around and it's Charlie Tapp. I go, Charlie. I'm rooming with Charlie Tapp. I should back up a little bit. I was rooming with Charlie Tapp and Joe Hutchinson.
Oh gosh.
Two characters there, believe me. Anyway, I feel these hands are grabbing my back and my legs, and I go, Charlie, cut it out. You know, he rumbles and he rolls over to the other side. About a half hour later, he does the same thing. I go, Charlie, I told you to cut it out. And you wouldn't cut it out. He's dreaming. He thinks I'm his wife, and he's trying to grope me. And by the 3rd time, I says, I'm getting out of here. I got a bowl in the morning. I made the TV show. I got up and I slept in the bathtub the whole rest of the night because we had no cots in the floor. So I went in the bathtub and got my pillow and just I slept in the bathtub and won the tournament.
Hey, Bakes, nothing against you, but you're nothing even close to Marlis.
That's not to Peter Griffin. I'm like, what was he doing?
Oh my gosh. No, Charlie Tapp, the tapper.
Yeah. Tapper's great stories, man. He's got them all. You got to have him on.
You know, Charlie Tapp, he came to a big Bowl U camp that Rick and I did over in Michigan last summer. And he's all into Bowl U now. He teaches one of the colleges out over there. I don't want to say which college because I might get it wrong. There was a number of colleges represented there. I want to say he teaches Concordia, maybe. So Charlie, if you're still on here, type in the comments of what college that you coach. I hope I'm not wrong, but if I am, I apologize. But anyway, there was a number of college coaches there that we were working with that whole week, teaching them all the Bowl U stuff that what Rick has done, and it was pretty cool. So that's actually Bakes. You know, of all the years I've known you, I've never heard that story.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you want to tell that story. It's kind of crazy, you know. But that's Charlie. Charlie and Joe, they were two crazy guys. And Joe Hutch was he had a bunch of stories, and I ain't telling them.
You know, you get those old timer guys. One of the things that I've heard from so many of you guys, as well as Rick Benoit, you know, his brother Bob was out on tour, has a handful of titles, bowled 300 on TV. But one of the things that Rick has said is that the tour life, what I've grown up in out on tour, isn't really anything close to some of the stories that there were out on tour back in the day. As you say, you were out there for 36 weeks. It was, you know, as popular as anything. You made the show one week. The next week, you couldn't get through the bowling center without having an autograph and people wanting to talk to you and all of that stuff, let alone winning 3 titles in a row. I mean, what was that next week like for you, that 4th week? Do you remember where it was?
Yeah, it was. It was in Waukegan, Illinois. And to tell you how special it was, I was living in Buffalo at the time. They sent the Buffalo sports crew to Waukegan, Illinois, to tape me for my last 8 games to see if I was going to make the top 5. So they drove from Buffalo to Waukegan, Illinois, just for me. And I was like, wow, they did that for me? That was crazy back then. I didn't make it. I think I missed out in the last 2 games or so. But I remember I was using a gold white dot back then or something. Wow. But getting back to that story, you know, you're getting back to the crowds were so much bigger back then. And I remember bowling in Milwaukee. They had rope it off so you can get from. They had 2-sided house. You had to get one side to the other side to have it roped off. And then the bowlers hung around the bowling center a lot longer than they do now. Now they don't hang around at all. Back then we would hang out at the bowl a lot longer and hang out with the people. And you don't see that too much anymore. It kind of died away. But definitely the crowd definitely felt really special bowling. The Tournament of Champions was one of them that was at the Riviera Lanes, and they brought it back this year. I think you bowled that this year, and I don't know how it was this year, but I know in years past it's probably the greatest feeling, the bowl, walking through those doors and bowling that tournament.
Well, it's funny you use that phrase because they still have that sign above the doors at Riviera Lanes. Through these doors have walked the greatest bowlers in the world. And still, you know, I get there, I still walk in, and you know, it's up there, right above the doors, and you get chills. You get chills. I remember watching Johnny Petraglia win his Triple Crown, and then during the U.S. Open in New Jersey the one year, remember we all went over to Johnny, had all of us Brunswick staffers at the time. We went over to his house. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And I'll never forget walking into his house and looking up on the wall there, and there are those 3 trophies right there. There they are. And I'm standing in this guy's house, like as his guest, not even asking him to go out to dinner or come into somewhere at a public place. but he invited me to his house. Wow, you start pinching yourself. Is this really real?
Right.
So, some of those stories of things that I've been fortunate enough to be able to experience, it's really awesome. And my friendship with you, it's more than just that guy on the wall at Chef's, or it's more than just that guy that won 3 titles in a row. And I remember it's more than that. Now I can call you, or when I run into you, like, hey, how you doing, Bakes? What's going on? And you can catch up. How's Michelle? How's the kids? It's just special moments. And of course, we roomed together for what, 7 or 8 years, I think. Of course, there's ups and downs. You're away from home, and you're with somebody, and if somebody was bowling good or somebody wasn't bowling good, there's the grumpiness there and that kind of stuff. And here we are on a TV show or a live stream show in my bowling center. And here it is all come full circle, and now I'm going to be able to see you. As soon as all this stuff is lifted, I'll be able to see you every week again. We can go, we can have a little chicken parm, and we can go, hey, not in this town.
Yeah.
We can do all kinds of cool, fun stuff. It's just going to be a good time.
You got to get the figures, though. You got to get the figures.
Oh, yeah. So that's another thing. We have a good friend of ours. He lives out in California, and his name is Duke Matisse. And, many people know the daily racing form, to where they handicap all the races. Well, our friend Duke Matisse, he has this website that he does all of the same stuff, even more, that the daily racing form does. And the name of his website is called The Figures. At the same time, we had another friend from back here in Niagara Falls that he used to have a formula to where you would take all of the will pays. If this horse wins, he will pay this amount for all of the pick 3s and the pick 4s and all that stuff. And so he had this formula. So we had to get those figures. We had to write down. And so we were watching up on the screen and wait till they would show all the will pays. And we'd write down all those figures and have to divide it all out. And I had my calculator to do it all out really quick. And Bake's got he has his glasses. Let me have a pair of glasses there. This is the Bakes when we're at the track. He's got his reading glasses way, way, way down at the very tip of his nose. And let's face it, Bakes, you don't have the shortest nose. So it goes way down there. Those glasses are way out here. And you're looking at the figures. So he's handicapping, and I'm getting the figures. And so I give him the numbers as to what should be the favorites of the race. And yeah, I don't like that guy, so I'm going to race that. So, okay, Bakes, what do you like? Oh, I like the 4, 5, 8, 9. All right, I'm going to bet the 4, 5 with the 4, 5, 8, 9 for second. Doesn't it come in 8, 9, 4, 5? And we'd lose half the time. He'd have all the right numbers. This guy you're watching right here is one of the best handicappers in the world, but couldn't get those numbers to match up right for nothing. Isn't that true, Bakes?
That's true. My whole life. It hasn't stopped.
It hasn't stopped.
I can tell you a story about the California. You want me to tell you about the California story about me going to Santa Anita?
I think you owe it to all the people watching. We have 80-something people watching right now. You owe this story to them. And if any of you log off of this story, shame on you. This is one of the most heart-wrenching stories I've ever heard in my life. All right, Bakes, go ahead.
Well, we're speaking of the track, and we're bowling in Torrance, California, and we became good friends with Mark Baker's dad, Nick, and we would stay at his house up in Glendale, California, and it was about 50 miles away from the bowl. But he was such a great host and a great guy. We didn't care, and we got there a couple of days early, and we decided let's go to the Santa Anita. Was right down the hill from Glendale. And I was rooming with Frank Ellenberg at the time. I go, Frank, we're going to go to the track tomorrow? And he goes, only if you handicap the form the night before. So I asked Nick, I says, is there a place I can get the form? He says, oh yeah, go down the hill there and go to the cigar shop. They got a bunch of them. So I go down there, I get the form, and I come back and I handicap all the races for the next day. So me and Frank Ellenberg are going to the track. And we get there, and it's like, I go, Frank, how much money you got on you? And he goes, I got 150. And I says, well, I got 170 on me. So I says, we'll put it together, and we got $320 for the day. He said, that would be good enough. I said, okay. At that time, they didn't have ATM machines. And for us to get cash out on tour, you had to go to the bowl, have the tournament director okay your check, and cash the check at the bowl. And here we are. We would normally do that, but we're 50 miles away. We're in LA. We're not going to deal with the traffic. So we said, scrap that idea. We'll just go with the $320. So I got the old races handicapped, and I get to the first race, and they got the daily double where you got to pick the first race and you got to pick the second race. So I bet $80 on the first race. I hit the first half, hit the first race. So I got $80 worth of doubles going on or something. And I don't hit the second half. I got nothing. So I lose $80. No big deal because we're splitting it. We lose $40 a piece. Now the third race comes up, and they came out with this new thing called the Pick Six. Back in that day, I didn't have a clue what it was. You had to pick 6 races in a row. And they have a card where you fill it out. And I go, Frank, I said, we should try this. What the heck? I got the horses all figured out. So I fill out the card. I don't know how much it's going to cost because I never bet it before. So I get in line, and the lady says $128. I said, normally I wouldn't blink an eye. But I'm saying to myself, man, I just lost 80. This is 128. So that's 208. So we're going to have $100 left, and it's only the third race. I says, nah, I can't bet that. I canceled the ticket. Make a long story short, I would have had the only winning ticket for the Pick Six, but I canceled it. Excuse me. I didn't sleep for 2 months because the Pick Six that I would have won, it would have paid $305,000. I bowled like crap for 2 months and didn't sleep for 2 months. I had the ticket through the window, and I canceled it. $305,000. Wow.
Tell me that's not heart-wrenching. I mean, it's heart-wrenching.
Very heart-wrenching.
But
Man.
You can understand how it would happen if there's no ATM and you're short of cash and you got to have something, I got to have cash to be able to eat some dinner. I'm not going to spend 128 on this. We're probably not going to win anyways.
Right. It's only because we didn't have any money. We didn't win that money. We didn't have enough cash on us at the time. Because I was bowling good. I had plenty of money. I was bowling really good. I was making tons of money bowling. So money was no object. It's just that we didn't have it in our pocket. And that was one of my other stories that just you never forget. It's what could have, would have, what should have, wouldn't have. My whole life has been that way when I bet the horses. I had the ticket through the window. If I would have lost a ticket or didn't bet it right, but it was already through the window.
Yeah, what a shame.
Canceled it.
I don't know if you're looking at the comments here, but Joe Scarborough says it's kind of reminds him of the roulette wheel in Cherokee, North Carolina.
Yeah, I go up there quite a bit. Me and Donna go up there because we're only about 3 hours away, and they started the senior regionals up there the last couple of years. So we make it a point to go up there and bowl. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything else we need? I mean, Bakes, we're right at about an hour now. Are you still cool on time?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm cool. Yeah.
I mean, this is cool, isn't it? Just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, it's cool.
What you got? Anything else, Josh? No. I mean, Bakes, I'm serious about that. If we the tour maybe later this summer, the senior tour, maybe afterwards. I know it ends up in Michigan. Maybe afterwards we'll try to schedule something here, and it'd be great to have you back. I'm sure a lot of the people would love to come on out and see you. One thing I want to say is that, I've been fortunate enough to have been born and raised in Western New York and have lived here my entire life, rooting for the Buffalo sports teams, the old Buffalo Braves, Buffalo Sabres, I guess, okay, the Buffalo Bandits, they've done pretty well. And the Bills, the heartbreaking losses of the 4 Super Bowls. But I got to tell you what, Bakes, still to this day, for my money, your story of winning that world championship, it really, the only thing I can think of on the top of my head that's close as far as Buffalo sports is the comeback against the Oilers in the playoffs, the Frank Reich comeback that the Bills had. Other than that, those 2 stories are 2 of the greatest stories that I've ever been a part of. So, listen, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on. It's always great to talk to you. I wish Donna would peek her head in there so we could say hi to Donna. Is she sitting there with you?
No, she's not here. She might be in the other room.
Oh, she's probably cracking the wine so you can get the wine ready going.
I just want to say that even though I left Buffalo, my heart didn't. I'm still a big Bills fans and Sabres fans. I got the ticket, NFL ticket in my house, so I don't have to go out looking for the games. I got the Bills Mafia, and I got the Bills Bleacher Report. I look at it every day to see the transition of the Bills. I'm so stoked for this upcoming year, and I just hope they could do well this year. They have a tough schedule. It looks like the fifth toughest schedule in the NFL coming up next year. And they had some great additions in this offseason. They look really good on paper, but you got to play the game. And hopefully they can play the game, get themselves together, and make Buffalo proud, because people up there really need some kind of championship. They're so loyal and behind their sports teams, and they have not got a national championship. And it's been, I don't know how many years. It's been a long time.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying, Bakes. That's what I'm saying. The Buffalo Bandits, they were, quote, world champions lacrosse, and you carrying around. I remember I was with you. We went around with your world championship trophy. We brought it here even before I owned this place, back when it was South Transit Lanes. We brought your trophy here and showed it off. You brought it around to other places. It was that was some really, really special times. And you're not really the kind of guy to stand on the podium and rah. You're more of, it's been great and I'm very fortunate, but you got something to be proud of there, my friend. Nobody else around here can say that. So congratulations. That was great to be a part of that. And thanks for taking my world championship title from me. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, so that's a wrap. Does that sound good, guys? All right, Bakes, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Thank you for everybody that joined us and listened in. Please continue to share this stuff. We will have Walter Ray on next week. Walter Ray, the one of the driest sense of humor guys that I know, but he's got a pretty good sense of humor. I've grown to really like Walter Ray and respect him over the years. So,
well, great. Well, thanks, Brad. Thanks, for having me on. It was great to see you, to talk to you again. I'm sure I'll see you on the senior tour. Hopefully.
Yeah, Josh says thank you too. Josh says thank you for coming on, and we really appreciate it, Bakes. All right, take care, my friend. Give Donna a big hug for me, okay?
Give Michelle a hug for us and the kids. All right, thanks, Brad.
I will. Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Bye.